Bomb Rush Cyberfunk finally dropped on the Nintendo Switch and on PC. It has a date slated for September 1st for the PlayStation and Xbox Series, but currently right now if you want to play it, you gotta have the Switch or you gotta play it on PC. Now, I played 2 hours of Bomb Rush Cyberfunk just to get a good grasp of what this game is, things I like, things I don't like. Ultimately, this video is going to be a first impressions video of what I like about this game, what I don't like about this game, and overall where I hope this game takes it. If you guys like this type of video, do me a favor and like this video. Consider subscribing as it does help me out tons. Without any more wasting any more of your time, let's get into Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. Alright, first things first, let's talk about the story of this game, and I think the story is simple, but it definitely took me by surprise. It got darker really quick than I expected. All the trailers really hyped this up as a really upbeat, positive type of game, something that I was kind of looking forward to, and I wasn't expecting just how dark the characters would get in this game. So essentially, the world that we're living in, New Amsterdam, has a bunch of different like crews, and the crews kind of run different streets. So you have like the Bomb Rush crew, you have the Futuristic crew, the Frank crew, all these different crews that kind of like own specific territories, and all obviously they're doing like illegal stuff, etc. So it makes sense for this game to get as dark as it does. Your main character is Foe from the beginning. Foe and this guy Trice that they end up meeting in jail end up on like a breakout mission to get out of the prison. This first like objective slash mission that you're on serves as a good tutorial for the main game once you get out of the prison, but it kind of like leads you into like the controlling of Foe, controlling of like your jetpacks, your grinding, etc. All the stuff that are going to make up the main gameplay once you get out of the prison. It also serves as introducing you to Trice and the world, as Trice kind of explains the ins and outs of this world to Foe, making you really understand why this game is so special and what makes this world so different. Alright, so what makes this story a little bit dark, and this might be spoilers, but it happens really early on in the game, like the first like 10 minutes, so I don't think it's that much spoilers, but you've been warned. So Foe and Trice are on their way out of the prison. Foe ends up getting his head decapitated. Trice gets his dead body and attaches like a cybernetic head onto that body. Now, this new character is no longer Foe because he doesn't have the memories of Foe. He ends up being a new character named Red. Red and Trice's mission is to go all city with their crew. That way, they could get better like respectability, more cred, and then come, or at least they could find Foe's head again with all the credibility that they've earned while going all city. All city just means that they're respected by everyone around town and everyone knows who they are. Alright, now let's start talking about gameplay. The gameplay in this game is smooth as all heck. The first portion of the gameplay I want to talk about is the combat. The combat is probably my least favorite thing so far. I only did one real fight so far, and it is a little wonky. I think there's certain enemies that were like hard to reach, and as far as I was able to tell, there was no lock-on method. And with the fact that everyone moves so smooth and so buttery, it feels like you're kind of like attacking worms and everyone's slipping out of your hands. You can't really target onto them, and you only get a couple hits before they escape. But pretty much, the combat in this game plays exactly the same way as like doing tricks. It's just kind of like you're doing tricks on the enemy to deal damage. Without everyone having like health bars, I couldn't really tell when they were gonna die. I just kind of like attacked them and when I could, and then hopefully they ended up dying. Hopefully the boss fights or some of the fights get better throughout the game, but so far right now from what I experienced, it wasn't really that phenomenal. It was definitely serviceable and it didn't really hinder the experience by any means, but it definitely doesn't really add to the game in my opinion. Now, once you finally get into the city, this is where all the fun just comes out. This is when you just get to let loose, do all your tricks, grind, you can manual. The amount of like skateboarding, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater things that are in this game that are kind of broken makes this game so much fun. So you can grind and you can go into like manuals, you can like jetpack and do like boosts. All these things you can combine together to just like increase your high score. The thing that I really like about this game is the physics are really wonky and really broken in my opinion. So you can't really like fall off your board like you would in like a Tony Hawk game or something. You're able to just go limitless as far as how you can combine tricks, as long as you're pressing the next button in a sequence to continue the combo. So the first objective that wasn't tutorial based was pretty simple. They set you loose into like a specific area. It was kind of a bigger area than I expected it to be, but it was definitely a closed zone area. Across this area, they had a whole bunch of like little Frank tags. Franks is another crew that you're trying to get their attention of. So how you want them to get their attention is there's a bunch of Frank tags scattered throughout this area, and you want to pretty much like slap your tag on top of their tags, and they're all placed in like really fun, creative areas that make you kind of like try to figure out how to get to that specific spot, whether it's grinding a certain rail, jumping over there, boosting, whatever the heck it is. You want to find a way to get there, and the game doesn't really tell you how to get there. They just give you your tool set, and then you got to figure out how to utilize your tool set in order to get to a specific location. Actually putting up the tags is pretty simple. You just walk up there, you press R1, and then it's like a connect the dots type of thing that pretty much you have to do in sequence. There's no real way to mess it up. So I think that kind of like, it doesn't really make it any less fun, but it definitely takes away from any kind of skill to it. The thing that I do like is all the actual pieces that they have in this game look really authentic. I feel like they really understood like that street culture and way graffiti's supposed to look. I'm speaking as someone who's been close to that culture, who's known a lot of people within the culture. It definitely speaks to like that late 80s, 90s style of graffiti that really pops in your head when you think of like New York subways or Chicago style graffiti. All of it just, again, looks really authentic, and it doesn't really come off too cheesy, which takes us to our next piece of conversation. That's the art style of this game. Art style is one of the things that this game does really, really well and really, really smart. If you were to look at any one of the characters like models or any of their facial features, they're really, really bad, to be honest. They don't really have a lot of detail. They look really cheesy. They look really low poly, but because of the cel shaded and the colors that just like pop, everything looks super clean and super smooth. It really adds like this vibrancy to this city that otherwise would feel kind of lifeless. All the characters around look like they have like a little pop in their step, and it just adds to the beat, it adds to the flow, and everything just vibes really, really well. Surprisingly, it doesn't really take away from the fact that like a lot of the NPCs, a lot of characters around this world are like identical models. They have like 2 or 3 identical models that just kind of populate this area, but it definitely still feels lived in for whatever reason, just because of, again, all the buoyancy, all the color, all the pop, everything that just flows really well, that adds to this world and adds to this like game. Finally, the last thing that I want to talk about, and my favorite thing I want to talk about, is the soundtrack to this game. Holy hell, this soundtrack makes this game like from a B tier to like an S plus tier, just because like there's might be some shortcomings within some of the gameplay or within some of the worlds, some of the animations, whatever. All of that gets drowned out when you're just head bopping to this killer soundtrack that never gets stale for whatever reason. It just really amplifies this game to another level, and the game itself is amazing. The game itself, the gameplay is fun, the world is colorful, but the soundtrack really ties everything together so nicely and delivers it in such a beautiful package, not just to your eyes, not just to the gameplay, but also to your ears. And I think that's something that is often slept on nowadays with some modern games, where I feel like this game, the soundtrack is front and center for your ears to just delight in, and again, I just love it. All in all, these have been my final thoughts, at least on my first impressions. So the gameplay is solid, the story is good, it's definitely taking turns that I didn't expect it to take. The music and the animations and the colors are really what make this game a standout in 2023. The one thing that I will say might hinder people is the price tag. This is $39.99, so $40 for an indie game seems steep for some people, but I really like what Team Reptile did and delivered on this game, and I highly recommend everyone try this one out. I don't think there's really an audience for it. I think it really plays well to anybody and everybody. Again, this is just first impressions. My thoughts could change later on down the road if anything gets stale, but so far I'm having a blast with this game, and I can't wait to just see where the game takes me. I'm gonna end the video here. Let me know down below if you guys have any thoughts, if you guys check this game out, or if you guys are planning on to. With that being said, I'll see you guys on the next video.